Call the El Reno Airport regular meeting to order, February 11, 2020 at 5:33. Roll call starting with Councilwoman Ryder.
Trustee White.
Yeah.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Cronster. Chairman Robinson.
Here. Consent agenda, the following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Airport Authority and will be acted with one motion should the discussion be desired. On any item, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one is approval of the minutes of January 14, 2019 regular meeting of the El Reno Airport Authority. And two is approval of claims requiring trustee authorization for the period beginning January 1st, 20 and ending January 31st, 2020.
Make a motion we approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Start with Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Cronster. Chairman Robinson.
Yes. Motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd like to bring a couple points up. Just kind of FYI, inform you kind of what's going on out there. I know you're aware, Mr. Chairman. You stay pretty informed out there with the deal. I know that you're pretty pleased with the build out. They're coming up with the new hangars out there. The new fuel system is getting online. We're working through those issues right now as far as the transfer of the new fuel. We're still having a little headway with some of the old contract, but we're getting worked out there. And we're still kind of waiting on not Department of Commerce, the Corporation Commission, in order to get the final go-ahead on some of that. But really more on our side than that. So it's all kind of working out time frame wise. So we're really excited about that. I will tell you, we have some new people out there. The Aero vets, they are really doing a gangbuster business out there. You know, they came to us a little over a year ago, and they've kind of taken the place of some economic. We've got a lot of planes going in and out there now to get a lot of service. It's really helped a lot. So the projects are going along pretty good. I want to inform you that we do know that our long-time operator of the airport, Mr. Buddy Cam, passed away last month. We were all saddened in that. He was a big part of the city of El Reno, a big part of El Reno, Paul. I think you'd agree with that. Not only just through our friendship of I know Buddy all my life. I'm going to miss Buddy a lot. But we have put that job out this week. It's currently posted, and we are receiving interest right now. So we're going to try to fill that within the next 20 to 30 days to get that going, to get that action going. Just wanted to make, I know you're aware of it, but you were asking a lot of the concerns, and I've kind of addressed this with you. I wanted to kind of share that with everybody else.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
5:35, I call the El Reno Recreational Authority regular meeting, February 11th, 2020. Roll call will start with Ms. Ryder.
Here. Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Cronster. Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes. Consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the El Reno Recreational Authority and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on any item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Item number one, approval of minutes of January 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the El Reno Recreational Authority.
Make a motion we approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We'll start with Ms. Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Cronster. Chairman Ballhorn.
Yep. Discussion items. Discussion, consideration, possible action to purchase 2 greens mowers for the Crimson Creek Golf Course.
Mr. Chairman, we're getting up on the time of, I think George can hear the grass growing, can't you, George? He can hear it in the back of his mind. He just doesn't admit to it, but we can hear the grass growing. So we wanted to get 2 mowers. It'll complete what we've been started, I think, 2 years ago, George, about, kind of upgrading all the equipment, rotating this stuff out. And I will say that we even backdressed the soccer fields with George and his team, and we're doing that to the softball fields. So instead of outsourcing that to the seed company that we used to, we're doing that currently ourselves to oversee those fields. So we're real pleased with that. But there's 2 real mowers. George found them. They're refurbished. They have low hours on them. They're newer models. It'll be great for us. It'll help us get ahead of what we want to do and kind of stay ahead of the game. And we'll retire the other two. We're going to try to sell those and get rid of those and not keep that junk around. George and I are wanting to get that out. And I know that's what you want to do, Mr. Chairman. You wanted to get that thing in order. And I think last year with your help and the Recreation Authority and of course the staff out there, that golf course, I think you got a lot less complaints last year than you've ever gotten. Do you not agree?
Yeah.
So I think this will help with those new mowers. George, we feel like we can get those mowers. When is he going to deliver those?
They can pick one of them up tomorrow from San Antonio, probably within a week or two.
We'll have them all here. So I'd like to go ahead and do that.
And from what I understand, these two are almost the same price as one brand new one,
They are.
correct?
Yes.
What kind of warranty do they come with? Do you know, George?
It'll be a 90-day warranty, but we work on all our own mowers.
Right.
Just like what we were usually working on, same model, same everything.
The main thing is that these aren't wore out and you know, we'll change out the bearings, the bushings if they go bad. And those go bad, and you know that on those real motors, that's just what's gonna happen. But we'll do proper maintenance to it. And we've had those other ones for quite some time.
One of them 2006, the other was in 2007.
How many hours do you usually get out of those, George?
About 6,000.
Okay.
I mean, before you got engine problems.
Right.
You can always rebuild it, but
It's expensive too, yeah. Okay.
And Timmy, I'll be honest with you, we talked about this before, that's something you and Mark brought up.
Right.
We're fine with bringing that to the Little League fields if that's what you want.
Well, and if
But-
that's stuff
but-
Jeff can use.
Well, but we've had problems with that.
Yeah,
I mean, I was just gonna say, the bottom line is, once they get to those many hours, they're just they're just wore out. You're talking about, you know, the metal on them's wore out, you know, you're replacing the outside bushings and some other stuff like that, but the metal's wore out on them, they're just pretty well, at that point in time, we'd like to, now, when I sell them, they're gonna be really nice.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
somebody else.
That's what I was wondering. Where are they gonna go?
But I think when we get rid of them, we don't need them. Is that right, Jeff? You better agree with that, because you're the one that sold me on that. I make a motion, we approve.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. Start with Ms. Ryder.
yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee White.
Yes.
Trustee Cronster. Chairman Ballhorn.
Yes. Discussion, consideration, possible action to purchase a new slide for the El Reno Municipal Swimming Pool.
Mr. Chairman, we've been working on this, and Matt's going to explain a little bit more, but I do want to kind of give the backup. This is the slides that we're looking for. The other slides they've been there since how long, Matt?
It's been a while, and I think we've got them used to begin with. So it's been there for probably 15 years or better,
15 years.
at least 15 years.
We have patched them up. We took them down and had the steps rebuilt down here at Steve's and had them recoated with the stuff that goes in the trunk liners. What's that? The
Rhino liner.
Rhino liners. We've got all the use out of the old ones we can get. We're down to we're almost like those real motors. They're down to studs. So we feel like you know, we've done a lot of upgrades at the pool last year. That this will kind of finish that project up and get that pool back to where it needs. There hadn't been any repairs done to the pool until, you know, the last 3 years we started doing it. We've got some minor things to do, so we're pretty excited about it. Matt, you might go ahead. We did apply for a grant. We're waiting back for that.
We applied for a grant for these slides. The best quote we received on this model of slide was $39,700 from a company called Willie Goat. They are, it's made for two different ages of kids, really. You've got a 10-foot deck on the big slide, and you've got a 6-foot deck on the smaller slide. So the younger kids can go off the 6 foot, and the bigger kids can go off the 10 foot. So we think that it'll be a good replacement. We have a limited footprint at our pool for the slide structure. The way the pool was built, the deck on the deep end is thicker concrete, so that's where we have to anchor the either diving boards or slide structures to. So there was a handful of slides that would fit, and this was one that we thought would be a good fit. And
This fun stuff costs as much as those mowers.
oh yeah,
Yeah, we understand.
you get into commercial slides and playground equipment, it gets
Right.
very expensive.
And I'll
Looks
be,
great.
Well, it will be, and it'll like I said, we got a new roof on there. We've been budgeting for these items and everything else. This is stuff that we're taking care of the kids. You know, this is something that the kids need, and you know, we think it'd be great. I'm a little, I never have ever awarded $39,700 to a company called Willie Goat. This will be the first, but I'm willing to do it, I guess.
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Make a motion to approve the bid to Willie Goat for $39,500.
$9,700.
Right. We'll start with Ms. Ryder.
yes.
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Crumister? Chairman Ballhorn?
Yes. Number 4, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve an agreement between the City of El Reno and El Reno Grass Cart Association.
Mr. Chairman, I put this on the agenda. God, how long ago was it? It was almost 2 months ago. Yeah, I was going to say December. We met over coffee. We met with concerns. Same premise of the grass car, just changing leadership. They do that every couple of years. We just want to make sure that we all knew what was going on, what was expected of us, the city, and what we were expected of them. We kind of relayed the concerns of the noise and the time frames. They totally agree. We want to keep it going. I think the main thing is this is for the young people of El Reno. As long as we stick with those time frames, I think it's a great deal. I've always been a big opponent of grass car. You know, we think it's a great deal for a certain group of El Reno, which is El Reno. You know, people love to work on cars and engines and make things go fast. I think it's a great deal. I think the only concerns we've had in the past, I think, Mr. Chairman, some of your neighbors and some of Mr. Crosser's neighbors in the past had the time of the noise levels and of the time that they were running. That has been addressed in the contract. We haven't had that problem the last couple of years. The ratio and the CCs that we can see have been backed off on that point the last couple of years. So we backed that off, so we haven't had that problem of the noise. And then the time frame of the dark, you know, so they don't race till after night. We've kind of addressed that. I think
And the crossing the road.
we stopped across the road. We opened all.
Pit inside that.
We
Right.
we allowed them to. We asked them to expand that area. They were willing to do that. They came in that area. They maintained that area for us. All that area where the I call the oil field site is. All that grass here. They extended that out.
Been great.
And it's been good for all of us. I mean, those little problems that we feel like we've had.
They fixed it.
Yep. So I feel good about it. And I'd like to recommend that we support the group and move forward. Enter into agreement with them. I make that motion.
Second.
All right, got a motion second. Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee White?
Yes.
Trustee Crumister? Chairman Ballhorn?
Yep. Make a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, George. It's now 5:45. I now call the regular meeting of the Hospital Authority, El Reno City of El Reno Hospital Authority to order at 5:45, Tuesday, February the 11th. We'll start off with a roll call vote. Start with Trustee Ryder.
Here.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Chairman Crumister? Chairman White?
Yes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda final item be considered routine by City Hospital Authority. Be acted with one motion. Should discussion item be that item, the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number 1, approval of minutes of the January 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the City of El Reno Hospital Authority.
Motion approved.
I got a motion.
Second.
Second, roll call vote start with Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Ryder?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Crumister? Chairman White?
Yes. Motion carries. We're going to discussion items. D. Discussion items. Number 2, discussion consideration and possible action to approve a commercial lease agreement between the City of El Reno and Pafford EMS of Oklahoma Incorporated. Ed, you're here, and Kent, he's here too. So we've been working on that with Roger. Roger's looked at the contract. We went over this. Basically, what we're doing right now, based on our contract, we have, and Jason and Kent did the contract, did a great job with it. El Reno is so pleased to have Pafford here in our community. They've done a great job. We got 3 locations of ambulances where we had 1 before, 1.5 maybe. Sometimes they were hit and miss. So we really can't. Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking about before with Mercy. So the bottom line is that we really feel good about everything, and we feel like in order to fulfill their contract with the response times of the low 6 minutes response times, we required them to be in 3 different locations. So one of those locations, I can't set up by the tornado, but we have those stationed throughout the town that cover. One's by the downtown by Roberts area, and then the other one that we're wanting to refurbish out there is the the blue building I call out there by the hospital. So we've cleaned that out. They've used that. It's really a good fit. They're going to start construction on that and basically make that kind of like their downtown area here and have that location. It's a little bit bigger area than what they have downtown, but it serves that side of our community. And we really feel like with them or any other service comes in, once we get that, it's our building. You know, if it's tied to the lease. So if Ed and them, if we don't renew their lease or anything else, and something happens with them, then they're out. Then all that comes back to us. It's tied to that lease. Is that right, Roger?
That's correct.
So we're excited about it. It's a good deal, partnership. They're going to put the infrastructure in. They're going to build it all up, make it all nice, just like they did down at their location in downtown, and we're real pleased with that. That'll be a great asset for us in the city, and especially that side of town.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster, Chairman White.
Yes. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I got a motion by Ballhorn, a second by Robinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. It's now 5:40. I now call the Reno Municipal Authority regular meeting Tuesday, February the 11th, 2020 to order. Roll call vote start with Trustee Ballhorn.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Here.
Vice Chairman Cronster, Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items may be considered routine by the Reno Municipal Agenda. I'm sorry. We'll see. New business deletion contingency agenda at a time. Are there any, Lindsay? Not. We'll move on to D. Consent agenda. Following item be considered routine by the Reno Municipal Authority. Be acted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on the item, that item be removed for the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes of the January 14, 2020 regular meeting of the Reno Municipal Authority. Number two, approval of minutes of the January 17, 2020 special meeting of the Reno Municipal Authority. Number three, approval of claims requiring trustee authorization for the period beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending January 31st, 2020.
Motion approved.
We got a motion? Second by Ballhorn. Roll call start with Ryder.
Yes.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Chairman Cronster, Chairman White.
Yes. We'll move on to E, discussion items. Discussion consideration possible action to approve right-of-way agreement between Bison Water Midstream LLC, a part of the Northwest 4, Section 3, Township 12 North Range 7, west of the Indian Meridian, Canadian County, Oklahoma, and part of the Northeast 4, Section 4, Township 12 North Range 7, west of Canadian County, Oklahoma. Basically, Roger, this was an agreement that you looked at, is that correct?
That's correct. We prepared it, the addendum that's attached to it, went back and forth in some of the terms and compensation.
Okay. And basically, we're going to pay $375 for the rod of acquisition, is that correct? And then we're going to pay $25 per rod for damages.
Well, they'll be paying it to us, that's correct.
Well, that's what, I mean, sorry, yeah. Yeah. Well, what you're laughing at, you're going to sign a check. I almost helped you out there for a minute. So in other words, you're going to owe me about $24,756, all of us. Yeah. Then we want those in separate checks. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Roger, you feel comfortable with it?
I do.
Okay. It's a regular right-of-way agreement. It's a good deal for all of us.
Motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Roll call vote start with Ballhorn.
Yep.
Trustee Robinson.
Yes.
Trustee Ryder.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Cronster, Chairman White.
Yes. Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Got a motion by Ballhorn, second by Robinson. We are adjourned. It's now 5:50. I now call the El Reno City Council meeting, February the 11th, 2020, Tuesday to order. Would you please stand? Paul, would you mind coming up and leading us in the word of the Lord?
Let's all bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we're very grateful, Father, for your strength, for your leadership, for your wisdom, Father, that you give us. We thank you, Father, for these people that are dedicated to this community. We thank you for our prosperity, Father, and our growth. And God, we just want to give you all the praise. We want to give you all the glory for all that you lead us in. Father, you help us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Join me in the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Paul, tell me what's going on.
Lots of things.
Well, let's hear two of them. I don't know, I just made that up. Tell me two of them.
Well, blessing baskets, we're wanting to build, wanting to grow, and we're looking at some things right now. We got a meeting pretty soon, what they were gonna do, and, we just need a permanent place. Our churches are doing well, Ministerial Alliance is doing well, and, things are really good here in El Reno.
Well, I sure hope you guys get that building, and I hope everything works out, and I hope your partners help you.
I hope it does too.
I'm excited, Paul.
All right.
I'm real excited. I can't wait to announce it. You're getting me too giddy. Big deal coming up. Thanks, Paul. All right, roll call vote start with Ryder.
Here.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster. Mayor White.
Yes. Move on to new businesses, deletions, contentions of time. Agenda, are there any? All right, if not, we'll go on to consent agenda. The following items be considered routine by the El Reno City Council, being acted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on that item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Number one, approval of minutes, January 14th, 2020, regular meeting, El Reno City Council. Number two, approval of minutes of January 17th, 2020, special meeting of El Reno City Council. Number three, approval of purchase of 3 2017 Ford Explorers police package from Kansas Highway Patrol, in addition to all associated emergency equipment at $46,013 per vehicle for the total of $138,039. Purchase to be made at the same time, authorized by the city manager from the public safety sales tax. And number four, I'd like to, approval of declare 1949 American LaFrance ladder truck, VIN number L3803. Boy, they had small VIN numbers then, didn't they? From the El Reno Fire Department, surplus provide to Oklahoma State Fire Museum with said vehicle. And number five, approval of claims requiring City Council a period beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending January 31st, 2020. I'd like to pull 3 and 4, and I move for a motion of 1, 2, and 5.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with Ballhorn.
Yep.
Councilman Robinson.
Yep.
Councilman Ryder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster. Mayor White.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to the approval of the package of the 3 Ford Explorers. Chief, where you at? There you are. Okay, we're excited. We've been having these. We kind of waited till see what we were on some of the sales tax and everything else, and we're still kind of in range. We feel like we need to. It goes back in our fleet deal. We want to keep on going. The only thing I want to kind of explain to Council Marcia, Chief, we might have an option for them to out-rig these with the lights and stuff instead of us doing it in town, doing it ourselves. So it might change that price, but I think that would be under the purview of what I can do, allow by law to do that. But I do want you all to know that. We're looking to see, it might be cheaper for us to outsource the lights and equipment through another group and get it here quicker than us pay the money and spend a month and a half to doing it. Does it make sense? It's taking us a lot longer to do these. There's so much equipment in there, and our guys are kind of swamped. So I want you all to know that. So we might change the price of the total price of it, but we're getting those together, and that would be what would come out of it anyway.
So possibly less than 138.
It'd be a little bit probably more than 138.
More than 138.
Yeah, because that would be our cost that we have that we're going to use for here, and we might take that. I mean, you're still going to pay that amount here is what I'm saying. We think the way we have it calculated, you're really paying more money here than what you would be out. So we're going to look at that number is what I'm trying to tell you. So the base vehicle will be that much, but the equipment that we normally put in here, we might have, Kansas has their own group that does that. They're at that deal, and then we also have options that we've called a couple different places to look at that. So we want to see what the difference is in the time frame
Okay.
to compare. So it's not going to make a change in the budget side because that's still going to be what we're out the money for. Does that make sense? But I wanted you to be aware of what we're doing.
When they get here, they'd be ready to go.
That's right. And I think it'd be better time-wise to do that if we can do that. I think it'll help Chief out in order to get that rolling a little bit more. And then we ran some analysis with Chief Brown's help and Jeremy at the shop and Marcia. And we just feel like doing that cost analysis that we looked at it. In the past, we've kind of had done, but if you look at it, it's taken away from the public works side, it's taken away from the fire side on the regular changes, it's taken away from our regular program that we do, and then it's taken us still a month and a half to get that one on there. So if we order 3, we're talking about the last final service of that third one could be right around August. Well, that's crazy, you know, and we want to get those vehicles out there to these men and women as quick as we can. So I make a motion we approve. I just wanted to go over it.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster? Mayor White?
Yes. Number 4 is the ladder truck. We're honored here to have you gentlemen here today, and I really appreciate you along with our fire chief putting this together. Kent is so active in your organization along with a lot of our department heads that do these organizations, and I know that you all, we really appreciate. What a great fit for us and a great fit for you. We're taking the ladder truck that's currently located at the Canadian County Museum in Vicky's Way.
It was.
Well,
Been out of Vicky's Way for about 12 years.
yeah, sorry.
Outside, you don't want it.
Yeah, sitting outside where we don't want it. Sorry, sitting outside where we don't want it. Sorry, it's down there. So we're going to take that fire truck and we're going to dedicate that to the museum, and we're real excited about that. It's going to be a place of history. It'll show that El Reno participates in these wonderful events. It'll always be there at the deal. You can see where you can look up here at the screen at the old fire truck. It'll probably look a little bit different than that when they get it in there. They use this with volunteers. You all do that with volunteers to restore all that with firemen. So the only caveat I think that the council would want is if we could, when you get done with it, invite us over. We'd love to have all of us have our picture with it, along with Kent ringing the bell. So that'd be great.
We can't promise how long it'll take, but we will get it restored. We have a great plan for it. If you don't mind,
No.
I'll pass these out real quick just so you can get an idea. When you open these up on the right side, up at the top, you'll see a little tab that says About, and you'll see a picture of what the museum's going to look like. We're in the process of expanding the museum. When we do, we'll have a 2-story area in the front where you see those windows facing 50th Street. And we will proudly display this apparatus along with another with the aerials raised and crossed through the second floor area. We have an event center there that will be overlooking these out through those windows and across the street, which is where the softball museum is. So it's a great view, and it's going to really fill it out. Our association was founded in 1894, and 3 charter member cities were El Reno, which is where it started, Oklahoma City, and Guthrie. And we want to have El Reno struck in there, and either Oklahoma City's or Guthrie's as the second. So it'll be the flagship of our museum, and we're very, very proud to have this donation. Thank you very much.
This project's going to be big for us. It's a contribution that we haven't used, and one of those things that Kent came up with. And when he brought to me, I just thought this is like you said. I knew that we were the founding members of that. What a great caveat it's going to be, Jason. Don't you think? To the future. So we're real excited about that, and I just really appreciate Chief for making this project.
Jason did most of the work. It's really hard to get a title reissued on a 1949.
I'll bet.
Jason, with 4 digits of a VIN number, that's kind of hard to do, isn't it? Well, Jason, Kent, both of you thank you, gentlemen, for doing everything you do and preserving not Oklahoma history, but letting El Reno history be a part of that. I make a motion that we absolutely approve this and get rid of that vehicle and onward to history.
Second.
Got a motion and a second by Ryder. Roll call vote, still Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson? Yes. Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster? Mayor White?
Yes. We'll move on to E, audience participation. Anyone having an item to the business to present to the city council that does not appear on the agenda, please come to your podium at this time, state your name. You're requested to limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Any item being presented must pertain to the city of El Reno business. Anyone? Anyone? All right, we'll move on. We'll go on to discussion items. Discussion items. Number 6, discussion consideration possible action regarding presentation of fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019 with annual audit statements, independent audit reports, and a single audit report. Come on up. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's start with Arledge first. Or no, Arledge first. Yeah, he got nervous. You're the first. This is your first time in the hole.
It is.
Okay.
My name is Andy Gilmer. I'm a CPA and a partner with our administrations. I'll keep this short and sweet. We are the authors. Marcy Klein is going to come after me. She's with a separate firm. So we're 2 different groups, 2 different owners, 2 different everything. But so just be aware of kind of our relationship. But we have audited these financial statements. She's going to go over the numbers in a separate presentation. So my piece will be very short. you all will have two other documents from us. They're both stapled. One just says single audit reports. This is required whenever a city expends over $750,000 in federal awards. You get this report. So some years you may have this, some years you may not. This year you have it. And so it deals with if we had any issues with your controls or your compliance, either with the city on the whole or with your federal programs, those issues would be in this report, and there are no issues. So it's just something that the federal government wants to see, but there's no comments in it. The other report that we've got is just a little 2-page deal. We call it a required communication letter. This is something that we are required to give to the governing body. And there's 7 or 8 bullet points that if we had any things to discuss with you all specifically, independent of management, this would be our chance to have that conversation and to show you that. So the bullet points are here. There's really nothing in those bullet points either. As far as the financial statements go, our audit opinion, it used to kind of be termed unqualified, and that seemed to be confusing, so now we call it unmodified. So it's a clean opinion. It's what the state expects to see and wants to see. If your bondholders, anybody who's going to use the report, it's the standard report that they want to see. So really good news for me all around. So before I cede the floor, I certainly want to thank Marcia for helping us, and we enjoyed coming here. And of course, Marcy and the Crawfords for helping getting things ready for us. So collectively, that group did very well, and we certainly appreciate it and enjoyed the work. So that's my report in a nutshell. And again, Marcy will go over the numbers, but any questions or comments for me?
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marcy Twyman. I'm with Crawford and Associates, and we help you all prepare for audit, and we actually put your little financial statements together so that he can audit those. As you probably know, this is a pretty large document, and we're not going to go over every number, so everyone breathe a sigh of relief.
Because I said not to, Marcy.
That's right, because we don't want to be here all night. So what we do, as a firm, we've developed a vehicle where we can give a city a financial grade, if you will, based on various financial ratios, based on your financial report that you issued this year. And we call that the performator. We'll give you a grade from 1 to 10, 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. And I'll invite you to open, if you have your copy of the performator, to page 5, which has your overall rating. So we take all of the different financial ratios and put them all together and come up with one overall rating on page 5. And this year, that rating went up from 7.8 to an 8.4, which is very good. And rather than go through every ratio that's in here, we're just going to highlight the ones that are the largest cause for, in this case, the increase. So if you'll turn to page 8, this is the first of 3 areas that increased quite a bit. This one relates to your general fund balance. That's kind of like your rainy day fund in the general fund. And we like that to be at about at least 10% of your annual revenues. That's what we like to have as a minimum. But yours went up from 18% to 33%, which is like at the upper level of what we like to see. So you did very good. And the reason for that was because we put like about $1 million into the reserve fund. Plus, we had good sales tax returns, almost about 1.2 million increase in sales tax. So that's the reason why that fund balance went up. The next one we'll look at is on page 17. This is telling us how your business type activities did in regards to covering their costs. When you have a business type activity like a water or a sewer, where you're trying to charge for the service you provide and in turn cover the costs that it takes to provide that service. So last year, that rating was at 90%, so you didn't quite cover all of your costs for your business type activities. But this year, it was at 101%, which is really good. That means you covered your cost. However, the reason for that was because you got $1 million settlement from the hospital. So you might kind of think about that. That's a one-time payment. So next year you probably won't have that kind of a settlement again. But this year it made that go up. The next one we want to look at is on page 22. This is the debt service load, which answers the question of how much of our expenses that we have are tied up in paying debt. And for you, it went from 21 cents of debt service down to 17 cents per dollar that you are paying in debt payments. So that also is a good indicator and helped your rating to go up this year. Now, not all champagne and roses around Valentine's Day, right? There are some things that are not so wonderful. We want to look at one particular one on page 10. If there were anything that would, bring your rating down, it's this pension plan funding for non-uniformed employees. And right now, you're standing at a 78% funding level, which is kind of low, but this is a fairly new plan, which is common when you start a new plan, that at first it won't be as well funded as it will be in future years. But one thing to consider, the net pension liability for this plan was about $1.2 million. You have another old plan that had $400,000 in it that will be used to lower that net pension liability. So by a third, it's gonna bring it down. So hopefully in the future this will get better.
And our plan is also to continue paying the payments we had that were currently done to match that fund.
Right.
And like I said, that's based on, that's the only hit we ever had, but it's based on the new plan that we started for employees.
Right. So any other questions that you have? That's my presentation.
Marcy, a couple of them, and we went over a lot of them. This is probably the best audit, best review we've ever had. We'll probably be in the top, I'm just guessing, but Frank will tell me, we'll probably be in the top, I'm gonna say probably 2% in the state with this audit.
I'd say that's about right.
It'll change.
Yes.
It's going to change dramatically. This audit is based on a lot of differentials that we did, a lot of things that happened in the hospital, a lot of situations that maybe we came in, a lot of royalty stuff that we had on the back side of that. Now, I project a little bit of that, but Marcy and I talked to Frank, I call him Frankie. I talked to Frankie quite a bit with Crawford Associates. So we try to stay up on that. I will tell you that, sales tax came in yesterday and everything else. We're down on our budget. It's going to be, projected quite a bit less than what we have. So it's dramatically going to change. Even though it's a great picture, I think we've done a great job as a body. We've ran this thing like a business probably for the last, you can see, the last five years we've ran this thing. We bought a lot of things for the community. There's more to do. I do want to talk about that debt. Let's go back to page 22, that debt service load. I'm going to kind of skip around. That's what that affects, and basically what she's trying to tell you is a lot of your debt services come off on some of the bonds. They have continued to come off. They dropped off on that ratio. The bond that we had passed continues on for the next 10 years, so it doesn't drop off. So I'm going to propose something to the council. It'll be next month when I have everything together. Really probably April month. But I'll skip around. On further on the agenda, I have ward meetings set up for each one of you all to have. And Ray, what I'm asking for is the citizens. We want to come up and we want to basically ask the citizens, if I was to sell some more bonds, what would we want to focus on? What are the needs of the community? So we did the deal with Dustin, and I'm going to use a lot of Dustin's information, and I've talked to Dustin about that. We're going to gather some of that information on that. but we have some needs that we think internally that we're going to do and present to you all as a council. But I also want to get with all the public to see, what would you want to do? We've heard over and over certain things that we want to do as far as, maybe walking, sidewalks and some other things that we think we can continue with that. Maybe some issues there at Country Club Road, traffic-wise, some more park equipment people want, and some other things. So we're going to kind of go over these different areas to see what exactly people want and how they want to apply that and get a systematic plan. What that'll do is I take my indicator where it wants to be. It's just like your house. I'm not going to take it down to red, but I'm going to kind of move that indicator. As they go off, I'm going to take advantage of the low bond sales right now in order to do that. I think I have a pretty financial good plan with Marcia and I working forward, and Matt Sandage and Kent are helping me put that together. We've already started that process. I've met with the bond attorneys. I've met with the law attorneys. I got to spend some time with Roger to get through that process and get Roger in that. We've had a couple of meetings with that, so I think I'm really well on the way of knowing what we can do at that point in time, what our limitations would be, and what our expectations could be. So I think we could have a sale of some bonds within the next couple of months in order to go ahead and recapture some of that money, in order to capture those low rates, in order to do some projects, and maybe take advantage of this downturn that we have in order to kind of shore some things up and keep the momentum going. So that'll move that needle up a little bit more, but we've done that in the past record of everything we do. One last thing, Marcy, y'all did a great job. Arledge, you guys are just bean counters.
I do have a question.
One last thing on my side.
Okay.
I want to thank Marcia. Marcia, I'm really worried what I'm going to do without you. And you're not going anywhere, I know. I go through these times. We do this. I think that the testament from what I hear from Crawford and what I hear from everybody else, there's nobody in the state that these people would rather work with than Marcia-elect. And that's not just saying that. Marcia has everything, her I's dotted, her T's crossed. And I think it's because of the way that we've handled this makes her job easier to do. Her expectations, we don't have the deal we had 5 or 6 years ago about not knowing where this is coming. We were all prepared. This audit, the last 4 years have gone great because of her and Karen and Rachel, and mainly Marcia's leadership to get done on what we've done, and they get done quicker, faster than we've ever got done. And really, we're chomping at the heels because I'm telling her, have you called them yet? Have you called them yet? And they're saying, we don't even have this stuff normally done for other clients. And we want to look at those numbers. And that's just all contributed to absolutely the service of Marcia. And I want to make sure that you get the credit for that, because absolutely, I know these two entities will absolutely agree with me. So I want to give you a round of applause. Yeah. Thanks. It's stressful going through this, and I can't imagine having a big, fat, redheaded guy yelling at you on top of everything's going on. Marcy, you agree with that, I'm sure.
Marcy's taught me a lot.
She has. So thank you. Go ahead, Tracy.
Based on page 10 on the pension plan funding ratio, based upon the contribution rate today, how many years do you have an idea before the fund is fully?
Well, it depends. A lot, the market has a big part in that.
Right.
So you have a bad year and it gets worse. I'm saying that I don't know.
Marcy?
The 400,000 is going to help that a lot.
Yes.
I was just going to say, it's going to change it, but let's go back to answer your question, maybe help you out a little bit. If you look at the trends, and you can see the trends back below that they broke down for you, and you can see as they come back up, we're building that up based on what we have. So what we're trying to do is exactly what you're saying. We're trying not to backslide that or go backwards any. We're trying to gain every time of that. So you can see, we're at 78% versus a 57 almost 10 years ago. That kind of captures all that, and it's a trendward upwards. And I think really what we need to do is analyze next year when we get that $400,000 in that at that point in time. Then we can relook to see what we need to budget for to adjust on a certain level to get that. Does that make sense? But we didn't do that this year because we were counting on the money that we had in that other fund in order to roll over. So we'll have a better idea of where that stands and what the market does and what we need to make the adjusted amount to at that point in time. Marcia, Marcy, is that right? Or?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And you have been contributing more than is actuarially required. So that will help to reduce that liability as well.
And the reason why we're doing that is because Marcia and I's concern is if we don't do that and the market goes downturn,
Right.
then we're going backwards and then we're not catching back up. So what we're doing is we're trying to be proactive, so if the market does go down, then we can do that. And a lot of that's based on what we see in our personal, what we're doing. Does it make
Yeah.
sense? So we're trying to get that to where it's self-funded. But really, we've done, it's really, as early as quick as this is, it's a pretty good.
Right.
I mean, we just started this fund.
Yeah,
so,
not very long ago.
Not very long ago.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the financial report? All right, we'll move on to 7. Number 7, conduct public hearing, consider declaring 710 West Woodson, AKA Keith's Additions, Lot 1 through 6, Block 9, violation of Section 275, 113 of the Code of Ordinance, City of El Reno declaring a public nuisance. Such an actor to constitute grave and immediate danger to the public peace, health, safety, morals, welfare, directing city staff to demolish the structure and clear property away as quick as possible, directing the city clerk to put pressure on recovery costs. Work be done, the City of El Reno directing the treasurer to place any revenues collected on the specific fund for which revenues are originally appropriated, and further directing the filing of notice in county clerk's office. I now consider the public hearing open. All right, Paul, what do you got?
Property, 700 block West Woodson, it's actually in a dead end, West Woodson behind, it butts up to the railroad tracks on the west side, north of Sunset. Our records, I went back and looked at our records, we've dealt with this house since 2006. Looking at the structure issue, has major structure issues. Some of the pictures that you'll see, the entire back of the house is actually missing. They've used a refrigerator at one point to support or to position to use as part of the back wall. The structure's fallen down and stuff like that. So basically, our recommendation is to have it declared as a public nuisance.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Anybody here speaking on the property? Anybody here to speak for the property? Thank you, Paul. All right. Anybody here to speak on the property? All right, now consider the public hearing closed. Going to B, discussion, consideration, possible action declaring 710 West Woodson, AKA Keith's Additions, Lot 1 through 6, Block 9, violation of Section 275 of such nature constitute grave immediate danger to the public, peace, health, safety, morals, welfare, directing the city staff to demolish the structure and clear the property as quickly as possible, directing the city clerk to pursue recovery. Cost for such work done by the city, directing the city treasurer to place such revenues collected into the specific fund for which said revenues are originally appropriated, and further directing filing a notice to the county clerk's office.
Make a motion to approve.
I got a motion by Robinson, second by Ballhorn. Roll call vote starts with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ball?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cronster? Mayor White?
Yes. Going to 8, to conduct public hearing, consideration declaring 224 North O, AKA Fair Lots, 43 through 44, Block 1, violation of Section 275, 134 of the Code of the City of El Reno, declaring a public nuisance of such nature constitute grave immediate danger to public peace, health, safety, morals, welfare, directing city staff to demolish the structure, clear property quickly, and possibly directing the city treasurer to place any such revenues collected into the specific fund for which said revenues are originally appropriated, and further directing the filing of a notice in the county clerk's office. I now consider the public hearing open. Paul, what's this one?
This particular property is in the 200 block of North O Street in Fair Addition. It sits between Rogers and Foreman on the east side of the road. Records go back 2016, but when we look at the property, it has major structure damage. The notices that we've sent out have not been answered. There's been no improvements on the property and anything like that. And we feel that it's a detriment to the neighborhood and to the safety. And we're asking for it to be a public nuisance.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Anybody here to speak on the property? Anybody here to speak on the property? Anybody here for 224 O Street, North O? All right. Now consider the public hearing closed. Discussion, we're going to B, discussion, consideration, possible action declaring 224 North O Street, AKA Fair Lots 43, 40 through 44, Block 1, in violation of Section 275, 134 of the Code of the City of El Reno, declaring public nuisance of such nature to constitute grave immediate danger to public peace, health, safety, morals, welfare, directing city staff to demolish structures, declare property, and quickly and as possibly directing the city clerk to pursue recovery costs for such work being done by the city, directing treasurer to place any recovery revenues collected into the specific fund for which revenues were originally appropriated, and further directing the filing of notice in the county clerk's office.
Motion.
I got a motion by Timmy, second by Ryder. Roll call start with Ballhorn.
Sure. Yeah.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ryder? Yes. Vice Mayor Johnson? Mayor White?
Yes. We're going to 9, to conduct public hearing and consideration declaring 917 North Macomb, AKA.
417.
Okay, everybody don't yell at me at one time. Let's back up here. Let's go back to conduct a public hearing declaring 417 North Macomb, AKA El Reno Original Township, lots 1, all of 2 and 3 in North 20, City of El Reno. I'm sorry, Lot 4, Block 49, in violation of Section 275, 144 of the Code of the City of El Reno, declaring a public nuisance of such nature to constitute grave immediate danger to public peace, health, safety, and clear the property as quickly as possible, directing the city clerk to pursue all recovery costs of such work by the city, directing the city treasurer to place any such revenues collected in a specific fund for which said revenues were originally appropriated, and further directing the filing of a notice in the county clerk's office. Okay, Paul, where's this one at?
It's 417 North Macomb.
Oh, I'm sorry. I now consider this public hearing open. Go ahead, Paul.
417 North Macomb, it's actually Macomb and Foreman. Some of the pictures you're going to see at the front of it is when we first identified the property. Our records going back, we had multiple notice of violations going back to 2005, identified it for structure issues and all that. One of the things I am making a recommendation to the council, or asking the council, they have made significant improvements since the notices have went out. They've invested a lot of time and money to bring the property up. Basically, what I'm asking the council is to approve that I can enter into a consent agreement, allow them 90 days to continue the process. I've already talked to the property owners. They're in agreement with that consent. But the council, if they recommend the consent order, like I said, the city is willing to go into that order.
So are we kind of looking at before and after pictures of what they have done?
The
since
pictures here
then?
was when we identified it back in December of last year. And then you're going to see these pictures right here. They're actually who applied siding. They're roofing the house. They've actually brought in 6 or 7 rollback dumpsters and cleared the property. They're making significant improvements. Is the only reason I would make that recommendation.
Well, Melissa, I've seen you on Facebook. You've been working your tail off. Roxy, I know y'all had all kinds of stuff. You had the tornado last year and everything else. I'm with you. I'm all for you. I went down there and it looks a lot better than what it is. I know y'all put some windows and doors in there and some other things. So I'm absolutely all for you. You know, that's the whole process of this. And I am going to say this to the council too. We are, Paul, Brandon, we are getting ready to do a push in that office. We've recategorized some staff to that. So get ready for the calls. We're making people clean things up. Once again, I think they would have cleaned up a long time ago. There were some family issues there that had to get a hold of that. It wasn't all just that. I got behind the scenes with some of that. I'm all for you. You guys got control of that. And once you guys got control of that situation, you're trying to fix it up, doing the right thing. And that's what we want people to do. We're all for you. So really, if we get out of this public hearing, I can say no to this deal and just go ahead and make the motion that we enter into an agreement with them, go through that process and have them work through that process, and we work through those steps as we have in the past on that consent order. Is that correct, Paul? Or do you want me to go ahead and condemn it?
No, sir. Like I said, I'm willing to enter into that consent order.
I think we should.
Based on the improvements that they've made over the last month and a half.
Yeah. Melissa, Rock, you all are okay with that?
Yeah, I just have one quick question. With this, in this 90-day or whatever, because, I mean, my goal is to have it done by summer anyway. That's my goal, but
Let me help you.
say if something happens,
Whether-
I don't wanna.
Let me help you. What we're going to do is we're going to enter into the consent order. And what that'll give you is 90 days. But it also gives Mr., what's your last name, Brules, the authority, it gives him the authority, Melissa, to work with you to where if you have that steps and you can't get the concrete poured or you can't get something else, it gives him the authority to leeway in order to work through that and understand that. Because what they're doing at this point in time, they're coming in there and they're giving you kind of a list of what you need to do. of the trades to where it covers to our codes. Does that make sense? We're not concerned with the color of paint to it or anything else. So he's kind of giving you a work order. You got to get the electric in order. You got to get this in order. We got to get this safe for people. We got to get that junction box closed. We got to get this so, and then you work specifically on those issues. Now, once you get those done, as far as painting, texturing, doorknobs, handles, all that other stuff doesn't have anything to do with what Mr. Broyles is going to give you. A, because he didn't have very good taste, and B, he doesn't want to do that. He just wants this thing safe and off the books. Paul, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So enter this order. You keep on doing what you're doing. Don't slow down, kiddo, because you're doing good. I know you're hustling. You're making everything work. Keep it going. As long as you do that, Mr. Broyles will absolutely work with you 100%, because we talked about this, and that you're the epitome of what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay?
Good job.
All right. I now consider the public hearing closed. Anybody else for? Good. Too late. All right. Roxy, you good with everything? I mean, you okay. All right. All right. Just make sure. I know. All right. Now we'll go into B. I tell you what, I'd like to make a motion that we enter into a consent order on 417 North Macomb.
Second.
I got a motion, a second. Roll call vote, start with Ballhorn.
I think your agenda item your motion ought to read how many days you want to give them.
I'm going to give them 90 days with the preview of Mr. Broyles' list that he gives them to work with them on the time frame that's allowed by the issues that they needed to resolve. That didn't cover it, I don't know what is. Okay.
You need a first and a second again?
I think I had I got a first, I got a second.
And I said yeah.
Okay, roll call vote, start with Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster. Mayor White.
Yes. Bye, kiddos. Appreciate y'all. Hang in there. All right. We'll go on to 10. Discussion, consideration, possible action to approve ordinance number 9217, an ordinance, the City of El Reno, Oklahoma, closing and vacating portion of Reformatory Road, the City of El Reno, Oklahoma, which is previously dedicated for the public as a public use as a street. Matt, we want to close this, right?
Yes.
So we need a motion to close this.
That's right. Not on the screen. Something happened to it.
There it goes. There it is.
That's the Reformatory Road alignment that would be closed. A good portion of it is under the lake. A portion of it goes by the man camp. And then the developer south of the lake is needing to reconfigure his lots. So that's the proposal to close that portion of the right-of-way. A couple of items down is access to the property to the south. Mr. Wagner's here to represent that, but we'll get to those items after this one.
But basically what we're trying to do is accomplish this so we can get that second phase of that development so they can get access out of there, and they need that in order to accomplish that. Our concern was Mr. Wagner. Mr. Wagner came up here. We met. We just wanted to make sure we're both square on what we want to do. We met. We came up with a solution that would come further on down on 12 that'll accomplish what Mr. Wagner wants to do. He's happy with that. We're happy with that. And that gives more access point for both of us. And then in the future, it gives the way that me and Mr. Wagner and I came up with it, it'll really help his land if he ever wanted to sell that or whatever else in the future or whatever else. It gives him more proper access to what he needed to do. You okay with that?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. You're happy with it now? Okay. And you were happy with it then. We just wanted to check it out. All right. Okay. Any other questions? All right. I make a motion that we consider, or that we do close, action to grant the access easement within, I'm sorry, am I on there? No.
No, just motion to approve.
No, it's to approve. Thank you, Bob. They got it public use of the street.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Mayor Cronster. Mayor White.
Yes. All right, now we're going to go to 11, discussion, consider action possible action to grant access easement within the formal Reformatory Road, ROW. What I want to do on this is just let this die and no action taken. And then at that point in time, we'll move on to 12, which we had that, it'll alleviate what Mr. Wagner wants to do. Is there any motions or anything else? Is there any motions? Okay. 11 dies. We'll move on to 12. Discussion, consideration, possible action to grant access easement across City of El Reno property to the Laverne Wagner Irrevocable Living Trust. I make a motion that we do that.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yeah.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cronster? Mayor White?
Yes. All right, we're going to 13. We're ready to go. Thank you. This, 13, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve right-of-way agreement by Bison Water Midstream LLC as a part of the Northwest 4, Section 3, Township 12, North Range 7, West of Intermediate, Canadian County, part of the Northeast 4, Section 4, Township 12, North Range 7 of Canadian County, Oklahoma. This is in the authority.
For authority.
I got a motion for authority. I got a second. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Mayor White?
Yes. We'll move on to number 14, discussion, consideration, of possible action to approve a commercial lease agreement between the City of El Reno and Pafford EMS of Oklahoma Incorporated.
For authority.
I got motion for authority.
Second.
We got a second by Ballhorn. Roll call vote start with Ryder.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ballhorn?
Yep.
Mayor White?
Yes. Move on to 15, discussion, consideration, of possible action to approve a purchase of a new slide for the El Reno Municipal Swimming Pool.
For authority?
Per authority by Ryder, second by Robinson. Roll call start with Ballhorn.
Yep.
Yes.
Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. 16, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve the agreement between the City of El Reno and the El Reno Grass Car Association.
Authority.
Got a motion for authority Robinson,
Second?
second for authority of Ryder. Roll call vote start with Ballhorn.
Yep.
Councilman Robinson?
Yes.
Councilman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yes. Looking forward to it. Make sure, I want a grass car this year. Make sure it has extra springs in the back for me. Yeah, okay. I was just joking about that. Get Timmy out there. I think it worked out great, don't you all? And I think I appreciate the pre-meeting. I think we got everything hashed out and we're excited. All right, before we go into OMAG and we get these guys up here blowing and going and cussing us out, I know it's this particular one that'll really jump on us pretty, well, anyway, I don't want to get into that. I want to move on to 19, if you don't mind. Let's move on to 19, 20, and we come back up to OMAG. 19, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding calling council board meetings to discuss capital improvement plans. Okay, here's what I have. You have this in front of you. Tracy, I think you and Timmy's already seen this, and Bob, we'll get with JT. Here's what I want to do. I want to get a plan together for the community of what the needs and what specifically we'd like to work on, what projects they'd like to see us do, what things we want to do as far as water lines, roads, and a lot of that stuff's internal. But we also want to see what they want to do, whether they want to see something, what are their needs as far as capital needs, long-term capital needs. So we're going to have these location board meetings, and what we'll do is we'll systematically have it set up to where Ward 1, we thought City Hall would be a good location. We're thinking 6 o'clock, we can switch these up whatever time you all want to. Number 2 would be Bob, be the Northwest Community. That's on our list, and that's something that you and I have been working on, along with Kendall Brown, and he's got some figures together to kind of give us an idea of what to do to fix that facility up, and we got that thing ready to roll out. So we think that'd be a good place to start off with there and see what the needs would be at the Northwest Ward 2. Ward 3, Timmy, Lindsay thought Lindsay
had it last time, Trinity.
we had the Trinity Baptist last time.
Circle to date.
And I think that'd be good if we get that going. We might switch these around because March 30th,
I can't do the 9th.
I know, but we might do a different time. What I'm saying is, I want to get this done earlier than later. Does that make sense? Because it give me time to get an idea together of what the bonds, everything else, to get you some proper. I got to get with Roger, I got to get with Alan, I got to get with Marsham, and it'll give me time to get everything together. So I'd like to do it earlier to speed the process up. So I'll get with you, but we'll schedule these times. And then Tracy, we thought the other one would be a good location, would be Crimson Creek Golf Course out there, just because we own it, and go from there, and we'll have that ward there, meeting there, and we can change the times up. You guys kind of circled it. Why don't we go through the next week and just figure out what works better for you? Let's shoot for that first week in March if we can. And then I'll set that date, and what we'll do is we'll pin these dates down, and we'll get those to Ray so we can get out in the paper, social media. And then we want everybody to show up, because if you don't show up and throw up your ideas at us, then we don't know what to do. We need to kind of move forward. I want to sell these bonds. I think the people want some certain projects. I know we've heard of these projects that people want to do in certain different wards. Like I know the community center is absolutely one thing that you want to do. We also have some options, and I want to get this out there now too. We want to have some sell bonds, but we also want to think past the future. There might be an opportunity for a GO bond, general obligation bond, and that would go on the property tax. Now, I don't know if the community is ready for that. It's up to the community. But we want to throw that out for some bigger projects if we wanted to accomplish that, for a bigger community center with another indoor pool. We don't know. A community center where we have an El Reno Now banquet, we can get everybody in town. Those are some things that the community has to tell us what they want. Does that make sense? So we want to give options to where we can get some things done now with the bond sale of selling, getting those things perpetual down now, and then maybe some long-term bigger items that if people want to do that through an increase, which other cities have, then we can do that. But that's up to the people of El Reno. So I think that's what we're trying to do and gather that information. Does that make sense? Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Okay, I like it. So we'll go ahead and let's just make a motion to start scheduling the ward meetings.
Second.
I got them. Okay. Roll call vote. Start with Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Ryder?
Yes.
Mayor White?
Yep. Okay, Marcia, number 20. I think we've had enough financial reports for tonight. But I will tell you, sales tax came in and it is down quite a bit.
Expected.
Yep, expected. All right, now let's get to the fun part of the evening, which is the training. My friend, your friend, OMAG, one and only, the man with the pins, the man of the hour.
Mayor, I like what you say and how you say it. That's very encouraging to me. Again, we never show up empty-handed. We have genuine leather-covered.
Pleather?
You bet.
Pleather?
Pleather.
Oh,
It's
pleather.
the PH.
I think it's the real thing.
Genuine pleather-covered
Man,
book.
wow.
And the world's best pen. As you all know, the world's best pen is highly coveted, highly sought after. Ask a clerk or a treasurer anytime you see one. This pen, Mr. Attorney, writes in any language. However, it does not autocorrect, so we still have to work on that a little bit.
Hang on, let me get to this. So we're going to go to 17 to receive a governing body training from the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, OMAG. Go ahead.
Thank you. Now, let me tell you that you have a book you can write some notes in. You could start this evening as you listen to David Weatherford, our main presenter, and as we engage in some conversating, we hope tonight. So I did bring a book. I did bring the world's best pen. However, I did fail to bring something, and I want to apologize publicly around the horseshoe tonight. The mayor's missing an S on his sweater, and so I failed to bring one of those. I apologize.
Here.
We will fix that for him.
Hope you can get out of
Get
town.
that going. Councilman Robinson, what is OMAG?
Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group.
That's our name. What are we? Besides putting you on the spot, what are we?
Insurance or government insurance,
City insurance.
city insurance.
Councilman Ryder, I know you're studying the top of your desk there, but that won't get you out of my eyesight. So what is OMAG, do you think?
You know, I can't tell you exactly.
Amen.
what
Thank
it
you
is.
for that
Yeah.
transparency. I appreciate that so very much. And so the reason I...
You don't want to ask me?
I'm not going to ask you because you know, so that'll spoil the party. And so the reason I put you all on the spot is OMAG is your insurance provider, but we are not an insurance company. We're a Title 74 Interlocal Cooperative Act agency. A Title 74 Interlocal Cooperative Act agency. That'd be something to get the pen ink flowing if you wanted to. Title 74 Interlocal Cooperative Act agency is the most powerful tool the state has given you all. It says whatever you can lawfully do by yourself, you can find a partner and do it with them. And it doesn't have to be another city. But in Oklahoma's example, 42 and a half years ago, Choctaw and the village got aggravated with the Blue Crosses and the Blue Shields, and they'd had enough of it, so they signed an interlocal agreement. Jan Eric Cartwright putting these in the file cabinet, and off to the races we go. And from those two towns, Choctaw and the village, we now have 500 cities and towns that belong to OMAG. We were created by cities and towns, we're owned by cities and towns, including El Reno, and we're governed by cities and towns. We're governed by a 7-member board of trustees. That comes from our membership. So you get your workers' comp, your property, your liability, your canine mortality, your airport surety bonds, and all those kind of things from OMAG, but we're not an insurance company. And because we're not an insurance company, we don't send dividends to fat cats in New York City. We return value to you all. And about 9 or 10 years ago, David Weatherford, who is our presenter this evening, you all had the B team last time because David had a conflict, but we brought the heavy hitter for you tonight. But about 9 years ago, David started this training. He started stability test, started the governing body handbook. And as we got to be 42 years old, we said, you know, we've got training programs and grants and scholarships for public works folks, for safety equipment, folks to go to the Clerks and Treasurers Conference, folks to go to the Mayor's Conference, folks to go to the Municipal League Conference, folks to go to the City Management Conference, folks to go to the Code Enforcement Conference. But we don't have anything for the governing body. The Municipal League has newly elected officials training for people that are elected or appointed, and you have to go to that, and it's really good training. No problems with that at all. But our training is we come to you, we come on site, and we make it as convenient as we can. And so when we turned 40 years old, June 1st, 2017, we decided we'd start the recognition program. You guys have been all the way through it once, and you got a check from us. And we want you to get a check again. Yes, we do. And so all you'll need to do tonight is complete your agenda, as Lindsay has put together, and to go through the training. And the reason we take the stability test every year is because we're reminded, we want to remind you all of what the mayor was talking about a minute ago. The mayor wants to go around the community and get community input on what you're going to do in the future, because it's a process. Because y'all are not in the event business. You're in the process business. And so the process is as old as what the Apostle Paul told the Greeks at Corinth. You're going to plow and plant and water and weed and wait, and the good Lord's going to give the increase. But you're in the process business. Lots of times it looks dull, looks boring, things aren't moving all of a sudden, but you're moving the organization, the community towards the future. Y'all are in the process business. And so we take the stability test every year to measure, are we getting better, staying the same, or getting worse in these 10 key areas of municipal operations. That's the value to you around the horseshoe of doing this program every year, not to count the money that we give. Money's not big according to your overall budget, but it's a way to incentivize and reward and say thank you for going to this training. David Weatherford went to Oklahoma State University, and then he went to the University of Tulsa Law School, and then he became a city attorney in 1988. Now that's easy to remember because that's the year before Taylor Swift was born. And so ever since 1988, David has been the city attorney for the city of Coweta for many decades. He's retired from that. He's currently the city attorney for Mounds, Manford, and Sand Springs, Oklahoma. And David, it is your turn.
David, before you start, Roger, I know Roger and I both have been to several of your classes, and he is correct. And I just, it's hard sometimes to me picture you without Dunley a little bit.
Without what?
Without Dunley.
Oh, I know.
And it's just hard to imagine.
I know. We miss Mike every day.
Mike, Mike and you all did some of the best presentations to handle some of the hirings of a city manager and how the government works, and the status and the presence that you bring as far as making cities better. You guys did a great job, and you did a great job. So.
Well, it was working with good people. Somebody like Mike is just one of those people that changes the course of how we do things, and it does it for a generation. You know, we did a presentation a couple weeks ago in which Bill and Aubrey and I were able to put together a video of the Manford story and superimpose Mike's voice into it.
Oh, that's great.
And it was almost haunting in some ways for those who knew him well, but about 90 people in the room, and some of them had a hard time getting through it because it was good to reflect back on his influence, and just amazing what a guy in a town of 3,500 and how much influence he could have statewide. So anyway, we had the good fortune of working with him for a long time. Stability test is something that was created to help us measure how we're doing. It's easy to get caught up as an elected official in how many potholes we have. And if we count those and try to measure that, it doesn't really give us a good picture of how our city is functioning. This test was created about 10 years ago. We've had several thousand people around the state take it.
Thanks,
Bill and I have personally been to about 200 cities for this training. And over the course of the last 30-plus years, I've been to over 2,000 city council meetings, or right at that, getting close to 2,000 by now. And as Bill usually says to everyone, most of them were bad meetings, and I'm the one that was at all of them. I learned early in doing this, though, we've got to do better, and we can do better. So the test was designed as a way for us to measure how we're doing, not to judge anyone, but to give you a roadmap of how to get better. You'll notice we don't take it, you do. And every place we go, the cities we give it to get to take it and evaluate themselves. So let's quickly go through it. The first slide will be on finances. And you've had a financial report. So how financially stable is your city? You get a 10 if you have a reserve of at least 20% and you fully fund it. That recommended reserve comes from Crawford and Associates. They are the financial experts in the state. I know you guys use them. A lot of well-run cities do. There aren't a lot of cities who have adhered to that advice over the decades. We found, we did this presentation in a city about this size about 10 years ago when we started this program, and I had a councilman who raised his hand and said, I'm sorry, I have no idea how much money we have. And he said, I wish I did. I've only been on council 15 years. He had never once seen a financial report for a city, and that's a problem. We've been to cities who give an answer of 1, they're lucky to make payroll and are concerned about it. We've had a councilman ask if they could give a 0 because it's worse than that. Cities shouldn't be broke. The public expects your city to be well managed financially. It's just as they do the local bank, and we should be working toward that goal. And that is the expectation of the public and how cities should operate. So give your city a score someplace between 1 and 10. Part 2 is where the governing body cringes, but we ask the hard questions because we get to leave town. How do you rate your governing body? Because you should evaluate how your governing body is performing as a group. A high score is you have well-engaged, good elected officials. If you have vacancies, it's considered an honor to serve with you, and that should be our goal. A low score is you look around at those sitting next to you and say, I wish I could throw them all out and start over. And we've been to a few places where we've seen some 1s written down. So somewhere between 1 and 10, how well are you as a governing body doing your jobs? Okay. Number 3, how are your public meetings? You get to evaluate how your meetings are because the public will score you on what they see of how you conduct your public meetings. It's an important part of what we do. A high score is they are enjoyable. You would hate to miss one. Our goal should be to have good work that we enjoy doing. And a low score is they're miserable and I wish I never had to go to another one. I could show you a video from a city in Oklahoma in the last 2 weeks that had one of those meetings in which the board members are screaming at each other and 3 of the council resigns before the meeting's over. That norm used to exist a lot in Oklahoma. If there's anything we've done in the last 10 years, we've improved the quality of meetings because we should. Number 4, how do you rate your workforce? Overall, how's the workforce for your city? A high score is we have good quality employees. If we have vacancies, we attract good people. It's considered a good place to work because it should be. You've got to have good employees. They're the best ambassadors for your city, and it should be considered a good place to work. A low score is we get sued a lot. We have a lot of turnover. We have a hard time hiring anyone, and no one in their right mind would want to work at this place. And we see that in some places, and we challenge cities to be better at being a good employer. Number 5, what's the public think of your city? A high score is they have a lot of confidence and trust that you're the right people to be making decisions for the community. You don't have packed meetings where they're screaming at you and they trust you to do the right thing. That would be a high score. A low score, there's no public confidence in anything we do. And we're constantly questioned, is your city considered a leader in the region? That would be a high score. The public would expect that. They expect city government to be the leader in the region of your community, especially in a county seat city. Number 6, and you're good at this one, how do you deal with a crisis? Government exists to deal with those things that go wrong. It really does. The public expects someone to step up when you have a tornado, don't they?
I think so.
I think so. So are you prepared? Are you ready to deal with it? And then when we evaluate government, that's one of the things we should look at. How well prepared are we to deal with a crisis? Number 7, economic development. Are we actively involved? A high score is we think we can make a difference. We're actively involved in economic development projects, and we think the city has an important role. A low score is those cities who have decided to opt out and just don't get involved in economic development projects. And there are some, and that's their choice. But they should evaluate whether they want to make that as a conscious decision or it just turned out that way. We know that when we go to far western Oklahoma, when we go to extreme rural areas, the scores are lower. When we're in urban areas, when we're in county seats, the scores are higher. Planning and goal setting. How well do we do that as a city? High score is we set good goals, we know what we're doing, we have a plan for where we're going. And if you've seen the Manford story video, it ends with the comment, it wasn't an accident, it was by design, it was a plan that was mapped out over 10 years. Low score is those cities that don't make a plan for anything, they live day to day and just get by. Number 9 is the administration. It's not a single position, it's the upper management of the city. Is this considered a good place to work for upper management, for department heads and management? High score would be one where it's considered a good job. If you have vacancies, you attract good people, and it's a good place for upper management to work, and it's been stable. Because again, it's called a stability test to measure stability of government. A low score is those cities that are a constant turnover, constant revolving door. We were in a city that had 4 city managers in 3 months. There's some that change every 6 weeks. So how stable is it as a job? And for upper management, again, measuring all of those positions. And number 10, how well do we communicate as an organization? A lot of cities have problems because they don't communicate very well. A high score is you feel like you're getting the information you need to make the decisions you need to make, that you're well engaged in what's going on. A low score is, I wish somebody would let me know what's going on around this place. Okay, so that's the simple test. We'll gather those. We'll get you a composite score back. If we go to the next slide, you can see some of the scores, I think, from around the state. And it's kind of interesting. Public image is consistently the lowest. Crisis management is consistently pretty good. Cities are used to being in that business.
Thanks, Bill.
And you see some of the statewide averages, and I like to say this every place I go because there's a very clear trend, and that is population has absolutely nothing to do with it. We see great city councils in small towns. We see horrible ones in big towns. Population has zero to do with it. And think about that for a minute. The quality of the elected official has nothing to do with the population of those who happen to live around them. And it shouldn't, and it won't. You can do a great job regardless of the size of city. So that'll give you some idea. I don't think the screen shows the low scores. Some of the low scores we've seen around the state is a city 10 to 20,000 that scored a 12. That makes Bill cringe as the insurer for that city. A county seat city of over 20,000 that scored a 50. That made some cringe a little more because they lead the state in the number of insurance claims and the number of lawsuits and the number of times they get sued. And we did this training in that city 4 times in 4 years, and the 4th time, council members wouldn't even sit at the same table with each other because they wouldn't talk to each other. And they're failing, and they continue to fail, and they choose to. So my challenge to you would be, if you have low scores, don't use it to judge anyone. Use it as a roadmap to decide how we get better. And what can we do to get better at what we do? Bill has given you a handout. It's a handout compiled from different officials around the state of suggestions of how to get better. And all they are is suggestions of how you might get better. Hopefully there's some good ideas. If you have better ones, let us know. Because there's one thing we know from having gone to 200 cities, is cities do a horrible job of sharing their good news and letting others know what they do really well. And I would challenge you as a great project for council. Make a list of what you do well. You'll find it's a long list. Your staff and your council works on that, and it becomes a great talking point for your chamber banquet or public events or public hearings to talk about future bond issues, because I bet for El Reno you can make a long list of what you do well. And statewide, that would be a great campaign for us, because a lot of cities are doing a lot of things well, and they always get buried by the bad news, don't they? And we do a lot of great things well. You have a lot of great employees, a lot of good people who work for cities who are trying to do the right thing, and it gets buried in the mess of what's going on in the world. So, Bill, unless you have something else, I think that's our test. We have scores. Next slide. Do we have last year's? That'll give you some idea of how you guys rated yourselves last year. So use those. Pick a lower category and see what you can do better on. And I think it gives you a good discussion point of things you can work toward. Those overall are pretty good scores. If you look back to the other one, we've seen lots of low and lots of high. So it gives you an idea of some things to focus on and work on, and hopefully gives you more information. And I think I'll end with the last, go ahead, another slide, top 10 things you can do to make your city better. And these are from surveys. One thing we've done is taken lots and lots of surveys of elected officials around the state. How do we get better? You can improve your city by making your meetings business meetings. It's not a debate class or a social gathering. You're the board of directors for a municipal corporation, multi-million-dollar corporation. Board of directors and city councils can do better if they act like a board of directors. Have a long-range plan. Good to see that you're working on that, to set some long-range planning. You've adopted a handbook. You know, when we started this program, I think there were 2 in the state. Now we're at close to 100 of city council handbooks. And I brought just as an example so you can see Sand Springs, we've had one for about 15 years. It keeps growing. But it's unfair for someone new to serve and not know what their job is. So our objective is we give them a handbook before they get sworn in. Here's everything you need to know about your job. And it just hopefully makes it easier. We're getting to the point, we hope, we have a handbook for Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, and every other board of the city. That should be our goal. Because again, it's unfair to appoint someone and not let them know what their job is, not give them the key documents they need to do their job. All of that will help you having a handbook. And if you think of it this way, how do you ensure your legacy of what you did that went well in your city over a long period of time? And the handbook's a great way for a group of you to do that, to make sure that whoever follows after you follows the same set of rules you did, improves on what you did, and makes it better, and can look back and say, boy, they set a great example for us. Have a plan when you show up. Ask the hard questions in private. All of those are good. And again, this is how do you make your city better, help your city's reputation, publicly defend your employees, plenty of public criticism. City clerk gets criticized every day, don't you? Most those dealing with billing or direct contact with the public get criticized every day in their job. And we've got to recognize that, and the elected officials shouldn't be a part of that in a public setting. Be a good employer. Simple appreciation means something to your employees. Set long-range goals. Identify where you want your city to go, your most important job. Understand not everything's your business. As a city attorney, some of it's none of my business. You all have a limited role. Some things really are none of your business. You can't be in everyone else's job. Let others do their job. Lead by example. Be responsive to the public. Get their input. And again, survey of how to make your city better. By far, the #1 answer. We've seen this forever, and we know it works because in the cities we see that score very, very high, this is #1 on their list. Successful teams are those that work together, and it really gets back to what the mayor said. It's the Mike Nunley philosophy from having been a coach. Those teams, those groups who work as a team beat those more talented people who don't work as a team. So the most important thing you can do to improve your city is find a way to work well as a group with the elected officials, staff, all on the same page working toward common goals. If you do that, you can guarantee you'll be successful. If you don't do that, you will fail. And we can show you 200 examples around the state of both of those. So thanks for having us, unless Bill has something to add.
What you all will get from me is
A check.
Yeah. With that or before that, you all will get a composite score of this year's scores, last year's scores, and the statewide average that you saw on the monitor there that you can use to evaluate where you're at. And a lot of times, if you grew up in the household that I grew up in, Mom and Dad always look for where the C or the D plus was on the report card. I always wanted to point out where the A was on PE or wherever my A happened to be. You know, look at where you're scoring well is not just the things that need help. Across the board, across the state, regardless of population, public image is the lowest score. It just is. But look at where your strong points are and build on your strong points as well. Don't ignore those, because that's where you guys naturally have a lot of success, a lot of momentum. So use this as a tool when you get together, when you do your long-range planning, when you have an opportunity to evaluate as you go throughout the year and allocate resources. Won't be very long. You guys will be having a budget hearing, starting for another budget year. Comes around really quick every year. And use that test score to help guide your allocation of resources, your evaluation of where you're at as a community. I know you guys have some challenges right now. Oil patches is a little challenging out there for sure. But it's a tool, and it's gratifying that you guys had us back. A lot of folks have us back year after year. We want to come, we want to be your help. We appreciate the opportunity.
Bill, thank you. Two more things I want to add. We want you to know we really appreciate the training. We really appreciate the partnership with OMAG. You guys are always forthwith, and we are in OML. We participate in all that, and all of our staff. We've been really big in the last couple of years, and you can see a lot of our people that we have here are moving up in the positions, whether it be OML, whether it be treasurers, clerks. And we got someone that got clerk of the year, and we got someone. I mean, just we're pretty proud of our staff, everything else. We want you to know the money that you give us. I don't know if you know this, but this governing body, as a group, we decided to take that money last year, and we're going to do the same thing this year. I can't imagine us not doing it. But we give that back to our employees. So the $10,000 that you give, we take that money and we give that back to our employee appreciation that goes back to our employees because we value them so much. So, and that goes to them to getting cups throughout the years, doing bowling parties. I think there's a golf tournament coming up, just certain things that they do. So we feel like that suffering through great speakers and not so good speakers helps us go through that deal. And back to Nunley and back to some of the things, you know, that I've learned over the years, and Roger goes to a lot of these classes too. We're here to plant the trees, not worrying about the shade that's going to be there later. And that's the whole key to the whole thing that we're doing. As a community, we're here to basically plant these trees, to build these deals as groups and as citizens here. And sometimes we fight and everything else, but we have a really good working council. We have a great staff, and we appreciate you coming out. Thank you.
Well, I just found something new to steal. I'm going to tell the other towns we go to this year, well, we know a town that gives the money back to their employees.
Now, we want to share that with you because it's important, and it's important to us.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, number 19, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the resolution regarding the Oklahoma Municipal Insurance Group Recognition Program. We're recognized. Okay. We'll go on to 19. We've already done that one.
And 20.
Huh? 18's action. Okay. I make a motion we accept the resolution.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote start with,
Yep.
Ballhorn. Thank you. Bill, thanks again.
Thank you. Councilman Ballhorn.
Yes.
Councilman Robinson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Yes.
Mayor White.
Yes. Okay, we'll go to reports. Bob?
None that I have now.
Tim? Tracy? I got something. I'm going to beat Tracy up. We are starting, I have, as acting city manager, we're starting to move some things around. We're starting to reposition some people. We've done some switching of some positions around. It's really mainstreamed everything. The staff has been real helpful with that. They've been a part of the process the whole way. We know that the mowing season is coming up. We're kind of designating some things. I'll let you get with me. I'd love to show you the chart we have in there and kind of some of the changes I want to suggest to you and go from there and see what you all think about it. A lot of these changes I've already made because it's my preview to do, and then we're going to have to make some other changes that's going to create all of us in order to decide what we want to do. But we're going to have to get some part-time help, some seasonal help, and we're really going to try to get ahead of the mowing this year. We got behind because of the storms, the flooding, the rain last year. So we're going to implement, I'm going to bring to you next month, we're going to do this program called the Mayor's Youth Employment Program. It's something I found that I think would be good for us to do. These jobs are difficult for anyone to get, but the high school student working in the corporate world might seem a far-fetched dream. However, the mayor's youth program makes that dream a reality. For high school students from El Reno, the students will get access and paid employment from the city, from the public sector. And they could help us with the golf course, help us with the cemetery, help us with some other things. I also have laid out specifically when we're going to have routes that will be downtown that we have every month, that we'll be running the street sweeper every month, designated downtown. We're going to stay ahead of the weeds downtown this year. I wasn't real happy with that at all. We're going to stay ahead of the spraying this year, and this program, along with some of the programs I'm working with Mr. Brown, to help with what we're doing up here at the City Hall, Petrie Plaza, the library, and some other things will help really kind of get us ahead of this game of this whole thing. So I look forward to ramping this thing out. I want to do it March the 2nd to do the program release. I want to have April 15th, basically the application deadline to receive applicants. I want to have an interview process in April, and then I want to have a mandatory training dates. If you're accepted in the program, you'll start your orientation April the 30th, 2020, and then we'll have a kickoff luncheon May the 1st, and then we're going to start to work, and you're going to get your rear end out there, and you're going to help El Reno, and you're going to get paid for it, and we're going to start that May the 2nd, 2020. So I'm excited about this program that we're going to go. I'll start rolling this out. I think it's a good deal for us. I think it's a good deal for our youth in El Reno, and then we're going to build off this program into other programs.
I like it.
Anything else? We'll move on to number 21, executive session. Number 21, consider executive session pursuant to Oklahoma State Statutes 25, Section 307B3, discussion and appraisal of approximate purpose of real estate property located Part 2, Section 5, Township 12, North Range 7, West Indian Meridian, Canyon County, Oklahoma, located 1681 North Choctaw Avenue, El Reno, Oklahoma, containing 3.29 acres, more or less, and take appropriate action in open session. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I got a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second by Robinson. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? We're in executive session.